Today we're talking about Sony and why in this particular moment in time, they're the king of cameras. Let's go! Well, thanks for tuning in, guys, and today we're talking about why Sony's the king right now. And I will mention, guys, I have absolutely no affiliation with Sony whatsoever, and this is just my humble opinion based on my own knowledge and experience. So if you've seen the news lately, the stats are in, and Sony's taken the number 2 spot, beating out Nikon for camera sales worldwide. And for me, and probably a lot of people, this isn't a huge surprise. The last few years have been absolutely huge for Sony, with pretty much everybody else scrambling to keep up. It's not a secret that Canon is hurting with sales way down, and the Nikon Z series definitely not performing as well as they would have liked. With hiccups of their own, it just seems like Canon and Nikon really scrambled to get into the mirrorless market with Sony taking over, and they just missed the mark. You can see this as both of their systems have basically been on sale since release date. And this isn't good for them. If you're doing it right, you shouldn't need to have a sale when it's brand new. As far as I know, the A7 III hasn't been on sale since its release over 8 months before Canon and Nikon jumped into the mirrorless market. So let's pull back for a second and realize a few things. Firstly, I've had the opportunity to work with all 3 of these systems, Canon, Nikon, and Sony. They're all great companies. But simply put, in this regard, Sony's making better products. They're giving us what we asked for, and in a lot of cases, above and beyond what we asked for. And keep in mind, Sony has a lot of advantages when it comes to manufacturing, because they make a lot of the camera sensors for a lot of companies out there. Even the amazing Nikon D850. And a lot of the time they save the best sensors for themselves. But what really helped them get to where they are? Well, it may seem obvious, but if you ask me, it's this bad boy. This was the camera that changed it all. This was the camera to beat. And both Canon and Nikon dropped the ball. Timing is everything, and at a time when smartphones are decimating the actual camera market, leaving only a handful of people that are going to actually buy these type of things for what they need. So you can bet that they're going to choose the one that gives you the most for the least amount of money. There's never been a worse time than to hoard technology in your higher end products, leaving stuff to be desired in your mid-range and lower end products, which Canon is famous for. But with the Sony A7 III, they brought everything including the autofocus from their flagship A9 into this camera, giving people much more than they expected. The timing was perfect and it blew the world away. So Canon and Nikon had about a year at this point to really pull things together and really impress to beat the A7 III, and they just failed. Having a better sensor, better shooting speed, better low light performance, not to mention autofocus that's gotten even better with a new update, IBIS, incredible video, dual card slots, incredible battery life. Do I have to go on? Everything that really matters. Sony lenses in general, but especially the G Master series, has a reputation of being incredible glass but also very expensive. But today, if you compare it to the new RF or Z mount lenses, in a lot of cases they're actually cheaper. And being new systems, you're going to have to rely on adapters while they come out with the new mount lenses. This is a bit frustrating and was one of Sony's biggest criticisms for a long time. Luckily, there's a lot of third-party manufacturers jumping on board to help with this issue. I wanted to talk for a second about brand loyalty. And to me, it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense, and although photographers are a passionate bunch, there's an incredible amount of anger and hostility towards other brands for some reason a lot of the time. And from my experience, it seems like people that are super invested in their glass, that are just going to take a huge hit to move, they just feel stuck and therefore they dig in. But for me, and a lot of people I think, when a company's killing it, when they're going the extra mile, when they're introducing new technology and giving us what we want, I'm gone. And it's an opportunity to learn new systems and ultimately gain more experience. So think about that next time you're about to rip somebody's face off in the comments. The color of your lens doesn't really matter. So aside from a few crazy people, let's agree that mirrorless is here to stay. The benefits far exceed the downside, and technology is just getting better and better, with Sony leading the way, pushing the envelope and putting their higher end technology even into mid-range cameras. And this is what fuels a competitive market. It's good for everyone. Now for the sake of time, I'll keep this video relatively short and kind of sum up by giving you my top 3 reasons why I think Sony's king right now. 1. They underpromise and overdeliver. When the a7 III was announced, everybody was absolutely blown away, and supports continued to be absolutely amazing, all the way up to the brand new firmware update for the a7 III, A9 and more, which has given us full-time eye autofocus, animal autofocus, AI tracking and more. It's incredible, and they didn't have to do it. 2 is the standout features and specs that Sony brings to the table, including being the first to bring eye autofocus into this universe, which is a complete game changer. And speaking of game changers, their new Z-type battery is crushing the competition, making mirrorless cameras finally usable for any length of time. I'm genuinely excited to see what Sony has to bring to the table when it's time for the next announcement. We're expecting an A9 II, an A7S Mark III, and maybe, one day soon, an A7 Mark IV. And last but not least, it's going to have to be the mix of quality, features, and price, or really value. And looking around, seeing what's available right now, and having been able to use a lot of what's out there, for me, Sony's going to be really hard to beat right now. So wrapping up, guys, if you're a subscriber, you probably know that I shot with Canon for most of my life, and it wasn't until about last year that I switched over to Sony when the EOS R really disappointed me, and I jumped ship. It's not to say that Canon isn't a great company, and it's not to say that Sony's going to meet all your needs. Do your research and find out which system is best for you. There's a million reviews and comparisons out there, and really this video is just me throwing my 2 cents out there from somebody who's been able to use a couple of these different systems. So let's leave it at that, guys. I hope this helped, and if it did, consider hitting that like and subscribe button, and drop your questions and comments down below. I'd love to chat. And if you are in the market for one of these cameras, there's also links in the description for you. If I missed something or if I'm wrong about something, I'm sure you'll let me know, and like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time, guys.